All right, hello, this is Wmpyr. So what you're looking at is a flow chart, and this is my own flow chart for knife defense. So this is a Wmpyr method of Escrima knife defense flow chart. All right. Now, I thought of a flow chart way back when I was in college, and then I remember during that time, it was like close to mid '90s, I believe, and that was when like Hickson Gracie was like considered invincible. And I remember online, um, we found, and by we I mean the grappling club that I was in, including Captain Jaime. Jaime is the a buddy from college who is now teaching a knife combat system called Tripwire. He's one of the instructors for that. It comes from the Piper system. Anyway, I remember back then he and we found Hickson Gracie's flowchart. And I thought, this is Hickson Gracie that we're talking about. He was like the number one BJJ guy in the world, on the planet. And I thought it was going to be very complex. It was actually the opposite. It was very, very simple. It was very minimalistic. Um, and and then the more that I looked at it, the more that I studied it, I remember thinking, wow, this flowchart, like because it's so simple, it kind of, I don't know, in a weird way, I felt like this is why he's so good. This is why he's so strong, because it's simple. I could just imagine someone who is BJJ world champion, their flow chart would be a lot more complex. But then Hickson's is like almost minimalistic. It's straight to the point. And um, to better explain that, I remember one time at the Brazilian Jiu Jitsu school I was going to, I remember my teacher, who was the assistant instructor at the time, and that guy, I remember he said to me, "Why are you doing transitions?" And I was like, "Because I'm working on transitions because I can't get the submission, so that's what you're supposed to do, right? You're supposed to do transitions. That's like the high level is to be able to do transitions." And he was like, "You don't need transitions. Just finish the move." And I was like, "Whoa." and I realized at that time, yes, transitions are necessary, but I was too obsessed with transitions. I was doing transitions when it was not needed. And he's right. If you could just finish the move, why not just finish the move? Why? I was like instantly going to a transition. I was going to transitions too easily. So I go for a move, it's not working. The first sign of resistance, and I immediately transition to something else. And he was like, "No, you know, you should make your first attempt very, very a lot more formidable. And so I think that goes back to what I was saying about Hickson Gracie's flowchart being super simple, in that sense. So anyway, here I am with my own flowchart. Of course, this is not for grappling, it's not for BJJ, this is for self-defense, and this is specifically for the knife. And the key point here is basically you're looking at two: the left side and the right side. The left side is when the knife is in motion, and the right side is when the knife is stationary. Okay. To me, the realization of those two separations, those two different sides, is huge, super huge. And look, I try to make this, like Hickson's flowchart, very simple and to the point, very clear and easy to understand, right? Almost to a fault, because someone looks at this, they might go, "Oh, yeah, yeah, okay, I get it. No, this is something that you look at constantly. This goes through your mind over and over and over again. And then you apply that in training. And in training, in the sparring and the testing and all that, you go through this flowchart over and over and over again. the best way I could explain it is like a Formula One racer or a NASCAR racer. You know, someone they go through the same course again and again and again and again and again, and to the point where they become so technical, they know right when they start hitting this curb right here, they need to do this to the gear. They need to shift gears. They need to do this. They need to get in this lane. They need to lower their speed. They need to do all these things. They know exactly what they need to. It's very, very, very technical. But for someone that doesn't know, it's just me looking at it. It's like, oh, they're just going in a circle. You know, that's it. No, it's very technical. This is the same thing as like Stephen King. No, sorry, not Stephen King. My bad. Stephen Hawking. And so Stephen Hawking, they say, is that whatever, I don't know, quantum physics or whatever he was working on, he just went through that over and over and over again in his mind. So he became the best in the world at it. So if anyone tried to argue with him in that loop that he works on, you can't, because he's thought of everything. He knows it like the back of his hand. He knows all the weak points, all the strengths, all of that. So this is the exact same thing. Okay, I'm working on this for many years now to get to know this like the back of my hand. All right, so that's what's important. Okay, so I had a flow chart in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, something like this. And when I went and competed, oh boy, man, those holes, like you think you got it down. Step one, this, step two, step three. If they do this, then I do this. If they do this, I do that. Like, I got it covered. You go in there, and then all of a sudden, you know, it's that whole Mike Tyson thing. You know, everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face, right? Same thing happens. The holes that you didn't see before all of a sudden get very, very visible, and it goes right to that. So right in the match, those holes became very clear, and I was like, oh, damn, you know, and or I thought my plan was perfect if I get to do it with my right side. And here I am, I got to do it from the left, and I'm going, oh, no. So those are the kinds of things that I'm telling you, okay? The holes will be exposed big time, okay? That's why you need to know this like the back of your hand. It's you can't just look at it and go, oh, it makes sense, I get it, or practice this a few times. No, it is a lifelong practice, okay? So anyway, the first part, like I said, is the knife is in motion versus the knife is stationary. Huge, huge. Because why? It really comes down to, when the knife is in motion, you cannot grab it. I can't grab their wrist. I can't grab their arm when the knife is in motion. The guy's coming at me. The same goes for a punch. You cannot grab it. Okay? But the answer is, I need to grab it. I need to control their arm, because if I don't, I'm going to get stabbed. I'm going to get cut. So that is the dilemma right there, and that's why this exists. Knife is in motion and knife is stationary. That's why that exists. I need to grab it, but I cannot grab it. Okay, so that realization is right here in this flow chart. Okay, the next, let's go with the knife is in motion, the left side. All right. So my answer to that, when the knife is in motion, my best solution is the force-to-force block. More specifically, is to use your defense bag. So I don't care if it's a fanny pack or an Indiana Jones style bag, or for the ladies, it's a purse, you know, or some kind of crossbody bag. Whatever it is, you're going to use that like a shield, like a buckler shield, and do the force-to-force block. That's my best solution that I've been able to find. If there's something better, I will be happy to replace it. But as for now, that's the best that I got to offer you with all the testing, you know, that all the training that I've done. And it's still being constantly tested and experimented on. So next is, from there, we want to escape. So the force-to-force block, you do it properly, you create distance, and then when you have the chance, you escape. So that's the left side, okay? Now, there's a time where you cannot escape. There's a time where you cannot create the distance. So in that case, you pin the arm. You have to pin the arm, right? The biggest mistake that I see people do, including my own students, is they think escape versus pin the arm. Like you see from force to force block, it branches out to left and right. One side takes you to escape, the other side takes you to pin the arm. So they think it's an option. It's not an option. Okay. Escape is 100% better. Pin the arm is extremely difficult. It requires timing. It's a high skill. You better outclass your opponent skill-wise big time to be able to pin the arm. Your timing better be freaking perfect to be able to pin the arm. It's very, very difficult. And I'm not saying that to make an excuse and say, well, you know, you could get cut. If the guy has a knife, you're going to get cut. To me, that's an excuse. I hate that quote. I hate it. I absolutely hate it. I made this flowchart so that we could be perfect, as close to perfect. I don't expect perfection, but I'm aiming for perfect. Okay, so to me, that is a cop-out excuse. Okay, but I'm telling you right now, the numbers don't lie. Pinning the arm is way more difficult than escaping. Okay, so that's why the best thing you could do when the knife is in motion, they're coming in, they're attacking you, they're coming at you with the knife, stab or cut or whatever, you know, they're coming at you. You do the force-to-force block with your shield, and you get the hell out of there. That's the best thing you could do for yourself, okay? But if you cannot, you're in a confined space, you know you cannot outrun this guy, whatever the case, okay, then you have to pin the arm. Once you pin the arm, that takes us to where, that means the knife is stationary. Because pinning the arm means you pin it, most of the time, it's against his body. Now, if you could pin it up against a wall or pin it on the ground, that's great. But you have to pin the arm against something. Okay, and when you do that, it's more than likely, a lot of times, against his own body. Okay, so once you do that, the knife is stationary. Now we can go to block B. Okay, but there's a time where you may start from block B. The knife is stationary. So when are those situations? Like, for example, the guy takes out the knife, he approaches you, and he's threatening you with the knife. He's just showing it to you. Okay, then the knife is stationary. Or sometimes, I've seen this on actual police footage video, the bad guy pulls out the knife, and they're kind of like in shock that they pulled out the knife, and this police officer is going, whoa, this guy just pulled out a knife. They're both a little bit in shock. For that split second, the knife is stationary. And that's when the police officer made the judgment call. I guess he's more used to being in action, and he grabbed the guy's knife arm, so he grabbed the wrist, and he was able to wrestle it out of the guy because he was bigger, stronger, you know. But at that point, the knife was stationary. So, see, there are situations where the knife can be stationary. Another time is when the guy has the knife up against your neck. It's already on your throat. The knife is stationary. Or the guy has the knife at your stomach and he's pushing you up against the wall. At that point, the knife can be stationary. So, you know, I'm not saying every time the knife is stationary you should go for the wrist grab, but you have a much better chance to do the wrist grab when the knife is stationary. If the knife is in motion, I say forget about it. Okay. So anyway, the knife is stationary. The first thing you got to do is a wrist grab. I know some instructors teach the arm wrap first. Okay. No. Why? Why am I saying no? And why did I put in the wrist grab? Believe me, I didn't want to put in the wrist grab. Believe me, I come from MMA training. I'm not saying I'm an MMA fighter, but I did MMA training enough to where I got comfortable with it. So that became my instinct. We're close enough to get in the clinch. I just want to tie them up. I just want to go in an overhook or underhook and start doing the clinch, or a Muay Thai head control. That's MMA. That's what I want to do. That's what I've been training. You know, that's what wants to come out. And I found that you do any of that, you get cut up. You get disemboweled. And I don't want to be disemboweled. I don't want my intestines, lower intestines hanging down. I don't want that. I don't want to be split open. So you have to wrist grab. It's just a simple matter of testing. You test it out. You know, I test it out and I go, oh, I received a big stab in the abdomen. You know, they just happened repeatedly. My percentage was just, It was just so low that I had to say, dude, it's not working, you know. So you gotta risk grab first. Simple matter of testing, but the testing part's easy because human beings will change the outcome. We will manipulate the outcome to it suits our own ideals. The humans do that. That's what we do. We manipulate things. We go out in nature and we change. We manipulate nature to fit us. That is our strength, but it's also our weakness. So right here, a lot of the Krav Maga instructors, very talented, much more skilled and stronger than me, more fit than me, yet they fall into they're protecting the style, they're protecting their ideals, they're protecting their ideas, what they want to see, and so they don't see what I'm telling you right here. You need to risk grab or you're going to get disemboweled. Okay, so risk grab. If you don't have to risk grab, but you got to give me an answer other than arm wrap. You have to. If not, there's a hole in your game. And why is there a hole in your game? I believe it's because you weren't able to let go. Ego, whatever. You couldn't, step out and view it objectively. Honestly, truly honestly look at what you're doing. Bruce Lee said that's super difficult. To be honest, he said that's super, super hard. Okay, I agree with him. It's mega difficult. It took me many, many years, all right, to be able to do that and go, you know what, this is not working. I need it to work. I'm failing here, I wanted to do the arm wrap first, but no. Do the wrist grab first, arm wrap. Arm wrap, is the same thing as in an overhook in boxing. In wrestling. But boxers use it too in the clinch. Okay, when they're taking too much damage, they do the tie-up. And that's what that is. They take it into a stalemate. They stall that way and they rest. Okay, so that is the tie-up in boxing, and it is the overhook in wrestling. So then from there we go into the arm wrench. The arm wrench is basically I redefined wrenching. So in my system, wrenching takes a whole new different meaning from the Jeet Kune Do arm wrench. The Jeet Kune Do arm wrench was the first time I heard the word wrench. I'm pretty sure it was the first time I've seen a martial arts technique called wrench or wrenching. And that was from Sifu Paul Vunak's Jeet Kune Do tapes. And I saw arm wrenching and I was like, that is an amazing move. I was blown away by it. But since then, I evolved it to suit me, and my wrenching definition is completely different. I could do it to, it's not just joint locks. You could do it to chokes. You could do it to throws. You could do it to takedowns. So it's becomes pretty much unlimited. But the arm wrench is not there to take them out. I don't believe in, you do this and now his arm's broken and it's done. I don't believe in that. Okay. You arm wrench the guy, his elbow snaps, he's done. No. If that happens, you were lucky in my book. I don't expect that. So arm wrench for me is not a finishing move. Arm wrench for me is a move to bother the other guy. It's to distract them. It's to get them off balance. So I am arm wrenching. If they're off balance, it's gonna be harder for them to swing me around and gorilla slam me onto the floor, or pick me up and slam me against the wall. If I'm arm wrenching them, it's gonna be harder for them to hit me hard. So that's why I'm arm wrenching, to make their structure weaker, to get them off balance. To basically, it's just an annoyance move. It's to annoy them, okay, not to finish them. Big difference. So next we go into the finger lock. Now the finger lock is something that my teacher did, but it's also something that my teacher's teacher did, who is Professor Remy Pressas. The Professor Remy Pressas lineage, we do finger locks. And Professor Bram Frank, who is also from Professor Remy Pressas lineage, he does finger locks too. And with his LLC knife, he does finger locks. So that tells me finger locks, very important. So there's no surprise here that it's also in my system, and I also utilize finger lock because on the street there is no weight class. So chances are the bad guy's bigger, stronger, meaner than me. On someone like that, do I want to be going for his elbow, or do I want to go for a much smaller joint? And that is the finger, preferably pinky, okay? And that is what I'm going to attack. And as I do that, that is a pain compliance hold, okay? Now, they could be on drugs. The adrenaline may be kicking in too much where they basically just don't feel pain. That's fine. Either way, if I cannot submit them with that, it's still going to loosen their grip, and that can take me to the disarm. Okay, but more importantly than any of that, I want you guys to know for this section, knife is stationary. If I get the wrist grab, right? If I can escape, I should escape right there, right after that, or even before that. If I, at any time, if I can escape, escape. If I get the arm wrap, okay, I do the wrist grab, then I do the arm wrap, and if I can escape, escape. Okay, don't think that because you got the arm wrap, you need to go next to the arm wrench, and then you got to go finger lock, you got to go disarm. No. So I get the wrist grab, I go to the arm wrap, and now here I'm doing arm wrenching, and if I see an opportunity to escape, I should. Okay, but let's say I get the wrist grab, arm wrap, arm wrench, and now I'm here at the finger lock, but I see a chance to escape. Escape. Drop the finger lock, get out of there. Okay, but let's say I go all the way wrist grab, arm wrap, arm wrench, finger lock, and I'm here at the disarm. Okay, but I see a chance to escape. Let's say I executed the disarm. The knife is in my hand. I get a chance to escape. Escape, escape. Don't use the knife on the guy. If you have the chance to escape, get out of there. Okay, why? Because where this section, especially this section, all of these, you're at risk for a counterattack. Why? Because you're so close. You're grabbing up, you're close enough to grab their wrist. That means you are in close range. You are in close quarters combat. You are there close enough that you could grab them. Okay, you could wrap up their arm. You could tie them up. You could do a submission move on them. You're that close to them. This is grappling range. There's always a chance that they could reverse the situation on you, especially when you're that close. Ask grapplers, okay, if you don't believe me. Ken Shamrock versus Hoist Gracie, I think in the interview, UFC 1, the guy interviewing Ken Shamrock said, it looked like you had an advantage, and then all of a sudden, it's reversed. And then Ken Shamrock goes, that's just how grappling is, you know. And he's right. It could instantly switch. You go from heaven to hell, instant. So that's why if you can escape, if you could get out of there, get out of there. And same with pinning the arm. You pin the guy's arm and you're getting ready to wrist grab them, okay? You immediately want to go to wrist grab, but that fraction of a second, you go, wait a minute, I could run. Then run. Get out of there, okay? Now, just keep in mind, there are times where running away is a bad idea. You cannot just run whenever you feel like, okay? That's why I said when the opportunity to run away is there, you should, okay? But there's other times where it's not. All you're going to do is end up giving your back. And now the guy could tackle you from behind, and it's going to look like the Discovery Channel where the gazelle gets eaten by a lion. That's what it's going to look like. So you have to run away at the right time. You have to understand that. Or maybe you're saving the running away for the right time, because if you go now, they'll know, oh, this guy's trying to run away, so then they'll start blocking you. So you don't want to do that. You want to have your options open. Maybe. So it just depends. It depends. So all I'm saying here is that running away is, you have to time it. It's not just whenever you feel like, okay? So even here, force-to-force block or can lead to an escape, but if you have a chance to just escape and not even do the force-to-force block, do it. Do that. Don't test out the force-to-force block. Let me see, can I do this and not get cut? Maybe you can, maybe you can't. It's not worth the risk. So escape should always be dominant. It should always be priority. Why? Because the priority is survival. That is the most important thing. Not to see whether any of this stuff works or not, okay? Hopefully it will for you if you have to use any of this stuff, any of these techniques here. But The most important thing is your survival. Okay. So I hope that all makes sense. That's it for now. Thank you for viewing and take care, folks.